Welcome to part 2 on how to make a caper knife. On the last part we had the outer profile completed and the handle material drilled out for the pins. On this episode we're going to be rough profiling in the bevels, polishing, and on the heat treat. Enjoy. I'm starting off with a 40 grit belt here for the majority of the stock removal. I'll try to remove about 80 to 90% of the material on this one belt and then go up from there. The key here with the grinding in bevels for what I've been doing is to start with a much steeper angle than I need to finish off with and grind that down to the lines I described in the previous part. This allows me to set a plane, if you will, that I can feel on the platen itself, and then I can feel that and work it back towards the spine little by little. That way we don't take too many divots or make any too big of mistakes. This I find works best for me. Again, there's 100 ways to do this. You can also put it in a fixed jig, and then you wouldn't need to do a nap flash, and you would just kind of go until you reach the top. But that's how I'm doing this, and we'll work up the grits from here on. After each pass or two, you can see that I am putting the knife down below the camera. You can't quite see it, but I do have a large 5-gallon quench bucket under the knife grinder for the sparks to go, as well as to quench the blade in each time. This allows to keep it cool, just because it can get very hot very quickly when you're grinding at this speed. And with a little editing magic, I'll finish the opposite side in 3, 2, 1. Now that I've done all the main stock removal with the 40 grit, I'm switching over to an 80 grit belt, and we'll refine the scratches with this belt. I'll now progress up from the 80 grit to a 120 grit belt to refine the scratch pattern a little bit more. And that's it for the 120 grit belt. I find at this belt we really get a good step up in the cleanliness of the edge, and the scratch pattern looks real nice. To refine it another step further, I'll take it over to a 220 grit belt, and this puts a pretty nice finish for pre-heat treat. I'll take it probably 1 to 2 belts further than that, just for good measure, but that's typically what I like to do. You might also notice that after the 40 and 80 grit belts that it takes much less passes to get the finish desired from each belt because we're removing much less material each time. You guys catch that knife reaping there with the editing magic? I'm now switching over to a Scotch-Brite medium finish belt. This is a kind of a specialty belt with the Scotch-Brites, which is similar to the blue Scotch-Brite pads that everyone knows quite well. But in belt form, it leaves a very nice finish that I prefer now on almost everything, and it's become a standard for me. So I'm just refining the scratch pattern down a little bit more, so it's pretty close to what I would like to finish it at when post-heat treat. So do this one, and then we'll switch over to the fine belt after this, and that will be where I stop before heat treat. This is the last belt, which is a Scotch-Brite fine finish belt, and after this we will be ready to go over to do some file work and then off to heat treat. And there we go. The bevels and flats are all polished up and complete, and we are now ready to go on to some file work and then on to heat treat. I forgot to take the video, but you can see here I filed in some thumb jimping for some traction, as well as added in a sharpening choil, and this makes it much easier and cleaner for sharpening later. We are now ready to take these blades over to heat treat, get them hardened, and get them tempered. Alright, time to quench the blade, hardening. better view here. Quench. Past non-magnetic, it's critical temp. Magnet is not sticking. But just the right color. Straight. When you know it's hard, put that sound there rather than now. With the blades quenched and fully hardened, I'm going to take them to temper, and this will reduce some of the hardness to make them more tough, and we'll do that at 400 degrees for 2 hours. After that, I've tested the hardness of the blades, and I'm averaging about 60 Rockwell, which is about right where I want. For a high-quality blade, you'd like to be within 57 to 62 Rockwell. I tried to shoot for the 60 Rockwell in this case. These all turned out within one Rockwell hardness of 60 RC. Now that the knives have been heat treated and tempered, I am ready to get the knives cleaned up and polished and work on selecting handle material and getting the handles attached. And that will be in the next part. Thanks again for watching.